Oh, I'm so hype. Man, that music gets me hype. All right. We got some ground to cover today, guys. Probably a 3-hour presentation. Let me turn that off real quick. Hello there, Victoria. We're we're trying something new today. And by the end of this video, you'll know if you like this format. It's going to be something different. If you like this presentation, which is nothing but myself and a studio guest coming in here, in this case, it's Grendel Dark. We can invite him back every month to do a similar video. But what we have done is just taken random books off the shelves of the Archaix library, and we're going to discuss some of the amazing things that are found in these books. And there's enough material here for us to do about 50 or 60 videos, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 100 videos. Then we can start on the books in my storage. But if you guys like this format, you're going to be hearing and seeing some unbelievable things that have been found in archaeology. This is essentially a book on hidden history and OOPArts, out-of-place artifacts. Things that we discuss, but we don't show and demonstrate. We're going to do that. If you guys like this video format, then we're going to make this a regular Archaix type presentation. So I'm going to invite my buddy here. He's been to every Houston meetup. He came to the San Diego meetup. He lives in Austin, about 3 hours away. And he came yesterday and stayed the night. No, we've been going through these books, finding all kinds of things, man. How you doing, Grendel Dark?
How's everyone going?
We need you guys to tell us about this audio. I know you can hear me. I think you can hear me pretty good. We had to reconfigure the studio audio to account for him right here. Let me remove this. Let me know if you hey, go ahead and talk.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me, guys? Let me know if you can hear.
I just need to know if you guys can hear him or if he needs to move up a little bit. So I don't want you guys missing all this stuff. And let me remove that.
The audio is good for both of us.
Audio is good for both of you. Thank you. What is it? Apogee Hype Mic. Man, it's the best $325 I ever spent from Amazon. This mic is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
This mic is fantastic. All right, so let me move all these things. We had to reconfigure cameras and everything, but he's on the other side of the Archaix studio, just over there minding his business. I'm wondering if there's a way to zoom in a little bit. Is there a way to zoom in on you just a little bit?
Let's see.
I'm wondering.
I'm not sure.
Hold on. I got a whole different configuration. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop right there. That's a little better. It's just the lighting's. We kind of got it dim in here. The lighting's a little bit. Oh, yeah. You're really clear now. That's good. Okay. 7 dust, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Grendel Dark has sent me some very interesting t-shirts. As a matter of fact, many of you may remember his music. It's on 2 of my videos. One of them is like an intro, outro, but the other one is a hilarious video I did, and you'll remember the music because in the background, you can always hear this guy saying, "I hate UFOs. I hate UFOs." That's Grendel Dark's music. Basically a parody on it's basically a parody on Richard C. Hoagland, right?
Yeah, that song is, yeah.
Yeah, man, The Case for the Face, The Case for Mars. Richard C. Hoagland, man, he's a character himself. Yeah, man. All right. So we were so busy reconfiguring all kinds of things. I got a list of errant ads I need to do, and I don't have one prepared for today. I didn't download the video and have all that stuff. So I guess we're just advertising this video today and the fact that we're already selling tickets to the Houston meetup. If you want to come join Grendel Dark and I, Joel Schaefer, Perceiver on YouTube. He's been to many of my meetups. He's going to be at the Houston meetup. I know several people have told us that went to the Vegas meetup that they're going to be joining us in Houston as well. I've already received those communications. Houston meetups are kind of informal, but we have a blast. It's an all-day affair, and the night before, we're going to a restaurant. If you want to just come kick it with the Archaix team and kick it with a bunch of errants from all over North America, really, because we got, Europe too. We always have people from Houston, people flying in from Europe for the Houston meetups. It's really interesting community we have. It's international, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, people coming from everywhere. I think it's awesome. We'll get to meet each other. Even CB from New York. From New York. How's she talk?
New York.
Yeah, New York. Massachusetts. Oh no, she's gonna get on my ass
she's
now.
in West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm in New York. I'm at Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. Yeah, I didn't know the Bronx is different than New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you tell your husband to quit mowing, so you can hear this video. Heidi Summit. Are you new here? Yeah, guys, this is gonna be an awesome live right here. Here are our 2 vantage points of the Archaix studio. I'm going to turn this camera and pan it just a little bit because a lot of you are new to my channel and you've never seen even this. Even I can't even get the I can't get it all in here, but all these are encyclopedias from the 1800s. Jewish Encyclopedia, Funkin' Wagnalls, Americana, 3 different editions of Encyclopedia Britannica. The entire Freemason, Albert Mackey's Freemason encyclopedia. A lot of other stuff at the bottom. Ridpath's entire history of the world. It's a whole that's the bottom shelf down there. That's all Ridpaths. That's amazing. Those are amazing books. It's just there's so much in here, guys. There's just I'm gonna pan this video around so you can see a little bit more. I don't know if you can see how the lighting is. It's just, yeah. There's books and books and books, and I got so much lighting that is interfering with your ability to see all these books. Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna be able to do that. I got a lot, guys. A lot of material in here that we pulled from. How's that?
That's good.
A lot of material we pulled from. You guys know I've been accused many times of what? You just got kicked out of the studio. Oh, something. One of the attachments came loose. The mic. That's what I get for messing with stuff. Because you might have to just exit and come back in. Reconnect that wire and then exit and come back in. It's no big deal. I've kicked people out of my studio before. So we're gonna get to it, guys. North America, underground artifacts, all kinds of weird mysteries, vapor canopy traditions among the Native American tribes. Yeah, traditions of giants, traditions of coming across white-raced, white-skinned people in ancient America. These are what the Native Americans were talking about. We have Choctaw, Navajo traditions. We have artifacts. We have things that uniformitarian establishment science is telling you is not true. It's telling you that can't be true and can't be possible. And yet we have them. We have the artifacts. We have the receipts in the writings of Charles Fort and William Cordis and Barry Fell and Jonathan. What is his name? What's his name again? I got every one of his books.
Jonathan Gray.
I can't remember his name. Jonathan Gray. BeforeUs.com. These men are pioneers in their field. Even David Hatcher Childress, the man has the receipts showing you all this stuff that did not belong in the ancient Americas, does not fit the historical record, but it was here. We have it documented. Even advanced technology in the ancient world that cannot be disputed because we have the artifacts in museums today. All right, how you doing?
Yeah, it's not coming back on.
We're having technical difficulties in the Archaix studio. Hold on just a second. All right. That should do it right there. Unless the deal was up here.
Yeah, I reconnected that one too.
Go to settings. Go to Brio. You don't see Brio?
No.
Okay. So it is this. So we're going to turn this upside down, shove it in there deep. What's one thing after another, guys? One thing after another. All right, so real quick, that's done. But is it pointed down to where you need it?
I think so.
Because there may be a short in the cable.
Could be.
I got so many cables though. All right, go to settings. You still don't see Brio?
No.
then switch. Then this cable here needs to be switched. I gave it to you earlier. This cable. Then this cable needs to be used. All right. While he's setting up the camera, just gonna let you guys know, man, that I have stirred up the pot, and I have no problem with that. There seems to be a lot of people that are on the fence about Satan's little season theory. So what really needs to be done is, instead of a bunch of independent little refutations and all that, it's like swatting flies. Nah, screw all that. All these guys, JT listens or JT follows JC. All these guys, another guy that I just was introduced to last night, Jason Jack, and there's several others. Jason Tice, J Dreamers. All these guys, they really need to work together and put together a super refutation. I'm talking about they need to put all their irons in the fire, network together, and come out with an amazing refutation against the video I did last night, right?
Yes.
That's what needs to be done. If we're going to grow as a community, then we need to separate fact from fiction. I'm okay with being wrong, but I promise you, I'm going to make you show it. And if there's any chinks in your armor, my dirk is going to get through there. I promise you. And the same thing applies. If you think that your position has been misrepresented, then educate me. That's all I'm asking you to do. But you better know your material. That's why I'm asking you guys, why don't you work together? Why don't you work together and come up with the best defense for Satan's little season theory? And if you guys work together and do this, you have my guarantee. I promise. The promises I make to my community, I keep them. You have my guarantee that I will post that video that you produce. As long as you give me permissions, I will post that video for the entire Archaix community to see. And I'm on multiple different platforms, not just YouTube. I'll post it in Archaix TV, which is very exclusive as well. I'll post it. I'll let everybody see what you guys got to say. Tear my arguments apart, do whatever. But I promise you, I am a researcher, and I'm going to give answer. So whatever you post, be ready to defend it to the T. So that's all. That's the best I can do, guys. I can't do no better than that. That's all I can do is invite you to refute every bit of it, and I will freely post your research and refutation on my channel. It's the best I can do, guys. Yeah, because I'm tired of hearing the little sideways comments on, seeing comments on other YouTube channels and talking about, I misrepresented the facts, I did this, I did that. Listen, man, until you put up or shut up, it's all rhetoric. It's all rhetoric. And if you can't demonstrate intelligently what your position is, you really don't have a position. So that's all I'm saying, man. Hit me where it hurts, right?
Yes.
Hit me where it hurts. So we can get this party started. All right. Now, I do believe our friend has returned.
Yes.
Hey, you're coming in pretty clear too. See
That's a better cable. Yeah.
It's a much better cable. I can tell already. And I'm gonna tell you about these two cameras. You see how these cameras with the shutters on, they're real sophisticated. If you make sudden moves, that's where the blurriness comes from. So once you stand or once you get in the same position somewhere, it's good. It's all good. It'll be clear. So yeah, it's all good. So I'm glad you guys can hear me. Hello, Sky Girl, the Rhino from Texas, Gabrielle, the Prodigal Daughter. That is an awesome title. John Chesworth, Abel Matthew, Debbie. Debbie's been with me for like 3 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah, get your Aaron's Choice coffee right here.
Pamela Swan. I'm just looking at all the moderators. Oh, Errol G. I missed you in San Diego, man. Did run into some other people. Jamie Robbins. I can never say that name. It is one of those Aussie things. You know, the Aussies are on the other side of the world, so everything to them is upside down. It's fucking didgeridoo. I can't even say it, man.
Didgeridoo.
Is that how you say it?
Didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it almost sounds like some Crocodile Dundee shit.
Almost.
Didgeridoo. Man, why, man? I can't. That's crazy. Why you can't keep it simple like Poppin' Sons? You know what I mean? Keep it simple like Mr. C. Oh my God, I can't never forget that. All right. So congratulations to someone. I can't remember who it was. I gave him a blue wrench after Mr. C, I believe it was Mr. C. Maybe I'm wrong. Said that this person's been around for a while. You might want to consider giving them a wrench. Maybe it wasn't Mr. C. It was somebody else, and I'm just not seeing it right now. But the person I gave the blue wrench to is obviously not in the chat right now because I know who it is as soon as I see him. They have been around for a while. But anyway, congratulations. You got a blue wrench, even though you don't even know it yet. Nelson Perez. So, when it comes to OOPArts, out-of-place artifacts, the reason they're important is because they completely challenge the narrative. It's a huge challenge to the narrative. The uniformitarian narrative is going to tell you that it's very slow development from primitive to advanced. But this is not what we find. Not what we find at all. Where's the Jonathan Gray book? Jonathan
right
Gray
here.
book. So I have all 6 of this man's books, Jonathan Gray. And what you're going to find is a very, very comprehensive, intelligent outline of how we went from super advanced to remedial to dumbasses over a 4,000-year period. And he shows the cataclysms. And one of the greatest cataclysms recorded in Jonathan Gray's research, he has mistaken it for the Great Flood of Noah. But he actually preserves the exact dating for the Gihon flood, 3439 BC, when the Anuna first appeared with Enki on ships in the ancient Near East by way of Dilmun. So his material is on par, but he shows that there was a terrible flood in the 35th century BC. He's absolutely correct. Then he shows that there was a series of disasters afterwards, but he never really associates that one to the ones afterwards to the Noahic flood. He's not a chronologist. He's like an archaeologist and just basically a researcher, and he does very good work. But a lot of the material on the 35th century BC world destruction that I've documented at Chronicon, it comports with his research. He just mistook it for the Noah flood instead of the Gihon flood. And there's a huge difference of 12 centuries in the book of Jasher. It's exactly 1,200 years difference in the chronological records of the book of Jasher. Why am I stressing the 1,200-year difference? Because this is the sum of all chronological studies involving the Anunnaki. Do you know what I'm talking about? What am I talking about? What am I talking about, Grendel Dart?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Ashar system.
The Shars. Yeah.
1,200 years is exactly 432,000 turnings of the stars. This is precisely what we're told. In all the beginning of all Anunnaki histories, it starts with, and 432,000 shars before the Great Flood, Enki appeared with the Anuna among mankind. This is what it says. Billy Carson, borrowing from Zechariah Sitchin, who made critical mistakes in the misinterpretations of Berosus, says that 432,000 shars is years, literally placing this event almost 500,000 years before the Great Flood. There would have been 200 great floods in 500,000 years. So there's a critical error here. We've already discussed it ad nauseum. We're not going to talk about it here. Right now, we're going to talk about some really unusual traditions and unusual artifacts, things that have been found. And I don't even think we're going to be able to cover all the ones that he and I have found. But I want to start with Grendel Dark. Man, tell us some of the things you brought. Tell us some of the things you brought with you before you even opened up a book in the Archaix library and then shut me out and ignored me for 6 hours last night.
Yeah.
Before that happened. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
What's kind of some of the stuff you brought?
Well, some of the stuff I brought is I've been studying some of the Choctaw traditions because I have some Choctaw ancestors back in my lineage. And so I've been trying to research some of their origin stories. And some of them, the main one is like the Choctaw migration story. And it talks about a group of people that was living in the far northwest, and they were trying to find a home. So these two brothers, Chata and Chicasa, got together to lead these people to their home. So they got with someone who is called a Hopi, which is like their spiritual leader. And what he took this thing, it's like a staff, and it was called Iti Fabusa. It was a sacred staff that was imbued with the power of the creator. And so what they did is at night, they would take this staff and shove it into the ground. And so it was straight up and it wouldn't move. And so in the next morning, whatever direction the pole was leaning is the way that they would start traveling. So the first day when they woke up, the pole was leaning towards the southeast. So they started migrating towards the southeast. So they did this, and every night they would travel during the day, long miles of people in these two groups, and they would.
You're gonna be able to lean forward a little bit, because
yeah, sure.
Because you're really blurry the further back.
Yeah, and so they would travel this way, traveling during the day, and then at night they would stick the pole into the ground and then go in the direction it was leaning. And every night it would be leaning towards the southwest, towards the rising of the sun, and they would continue on this way. Some traditions say that they traveled for about 4 months. Some traditions say they traveled for 40 years, but the story's so ancient that no one really knows. But at one point in the journey, like there's many things, like some say the brothers got into a fight. Some say that there was a fire that separated the true groups, but eventually Chata's group and then Chikasa's group got separated. But eventually when they reached their settlement, Chata and the Hopi, they eventually put their pole into the ground, and when they woke up, the pole was still standing straight up. So that was indication that they stayed where they were. And so they became the Choctaw people, and they built a mound on the site called Niniwaya. And it was I guess a way to thank their creator for bringing them to the land of their people. And the other group that got separated kind of settled to the north, and they became the Chickasaw people. And that's one of the legends. But the other legend they have is that there's a cave about a mile away from Niniwaya, and that's where their creation story came from. And there's that the creator reached down into the earth, and he started making people out of clay. And so these people would come up out of the cave, and they would come out, and they would lay on the side of the hill, on the side of so the sun would turn their clay into flesh. And then eventually they would start migrating. And so, let's see, the first group of people migrated east, and they became the Muskogee people. And then the second group of people that came out of the cave migrated to the east, but then there was a fire, and it pushed them further north, and they became the Cherokee people. And then the third people that came out, they traveled sort of to the north, and they became the Chickasaw people. And then the fourth and final group that came out were the Choctaw, and they eventually just settled right around the mouth of the cave. And then they built, and then there's another story where they built the same mound in Niniwaya as a tribute to their creator. So, and the Choctaw people still own these lands today. The cave and the mound are still owned by the Chickasaw people today. So that's...
So last night you were telling me something about, because we were reviewing Native American traditions where it's like ancient Turkey, the underground city of Darankuyu, and the 58 other cities are attached that they're finding is in Native American traditions have this, there's a theme to them where they literally came up from underground.
Yeah.
So
just like the Hopi, the Hopi had the same tradition of the ant people helped them come up from underground. So it seems like there was probably underground cities all over probably North and South America where people were emerging from. And that's where all these stories of emerging from underground come from, I believe.
Yeah, it's very compelling to find that I know that you watch my 3 videos. My first one was on Gobekli Tepe, and where I'm criticizing Graham Hancock's interpretation. And my first video was about how the handbags and the effigies on there are all 26th century and newer. They're all over the world. They've been dated by archaeologists, and it's 26th century BC all the way until about 16th century BC. But to Graham Hancock, they're Ice Age. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the handbags show, man, this is the handbags are ubiquitous all over the world. They're shown, but they're only shown in 26th century BC art. And that's my first video, my first criticism of Graham Hancock's theory on the Göbekli Tepe dating. And I understand other people date it too, but the whole world's following Graham Hancock. You know what I mean? And whatever he says. So my second video on Göbekli Tepe, I'm showing the fingers of the bird cult, and I'm showing that how hypocritical it is of the archaeological and establishment and Graham Hancock and all his followers, all his yes men, that how hypocritical it is to say that Göbekli Tepe is 8,000 BC, 10,000 years old, Younger Dryas period, and all that, and yet the exact same things found at Göbekli Tepe are found on Easter Island. Even the bird cult effigies and all the symbols and even the statues with the fingers perfectly, a pillar perfectly folded. Come on. There's only 3 places in the world that these statues are found. Easter Island, there's hundreds of them. All the Moya have the statue perfectly with the fingers, long fingers right here, folded over right there above their belt. There's only 2 other places in the world this is found outside of Easter Island. And one is right across the southern Pacific in Tiahuanaco, where statues have been found with the fingers folded just perfectly, and anthropomorphic statues of people, just like that. And the only other place in the entire world where that's been found perfectly is Göbekli Tepe. And yet, Göbekli Tepe is 10,000 years old, but Easter Island's only 15 centuries old? Well, come on, man, stop it. You don't get it both ways. And in the third video I'd put out, and this is the one this is the reason I'm mentioning this, because this goes exactly with what you're talking about. The third video I showed is that Göbekli Tepe is nothing but kivas, just like the ones found in India, Mohenjo-Daro, just like the ones found in Southeast Asia, the ones found in ancient Greece and Rome, and especially where are the kivas really known for?
In southwestern United States.
Southwestern United States. What is it? Don't tell me I forgot.
Arabi.
The site. The site has a name on the side of the cliff with all the kivas. I can't believe this. Chaco Canyon. Canyon. So I show the architecture of Göbekli Tepe. Everybody walked along the rims. You didn't walk in the pools. These held water. All these ceremonies were conducted in here. There's no passages from cylinder to cylinder. The people walked on the top and looked down into, just like at Chaco Canyon. Just like these are like baths. Kivas. And at the bottom, if you swam down to the bottom, there was what? What was at the bottom? Do you know what was at the bottom of the Kivas in Chaco Canyon in North America?
I can't remember. I know the ones in the south. They had it was like a opening where they came up and they would plug it.
Yeah, there was an aperture. There's an aperture down there, and they always kept a plug, or they always kept something shoved into it, a piece of wood.
That's how they believe that's how they entered the world.
That's right. It's a symbol. The kiva was developed after a people ascended from the underworld after a destruction or creation event. Because in the Native American traditions, the creation events are destruction events. It's a cycle. It's a huge cycle. So, the kiva, this whole kiva ceremonial center was just that. That deal at the bottom was the plug from which their ancestors came up from the underworld, and then they built the kivas after they abandoned underworld dwellings. This is exactly what you find in Turkey. Exactly. We actually have 59 underground cities, starting with Derinkuyu in Turkey. When those people came up from the surface after a cataclysm, the first things that they built were the Huyuk sites and the Tepe sites. The Huyuk sites is where they lived, like Cattle Huyuk. Shows all the houses and all that. Huyuk sites were where they lived. The Tepe sites are the ceremonial bathing and bath centers. Yeah, people weren't dirty. They're very clean. And these kivas are identical in both hemispheres. So that was my third Göbekli Tepe video. And it's just so interesting how it ties in with ancient Native American traditions that their ancestors came from underground. It's just amazing. So another thing is, you get a lot of criticism when you talk about humans were underground for a while. It was only like probably a 60, 70-year period. Humans were underground. I received a lot of criticism talking about, oh, humans can't live underground. Even, man, I was in prison 26 years. You know what? There are guys that are still there that were there before I ever showed up. So there's guys in Texas prison that have been there for 40 and 50 years. Yeah, man, for real, who've been in prison since the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I'm going to tell you what, one thing I know is that when I was in administrative segregation, I didn't see the sun for like 3.5 years. I was super white. My skin was super white, but I was very healthy. I was doing my push-ups. I'm eating good because in prison you eat a lot of vegetables, which leads to the next criticism. Oh, nothing grows underground. That's absolute bullshit.
Plenty of stuff grows underground.
Plenty of stuff grows on. Not only molds and fungus and stuff like that. Anybody knows about cave crickets? There is a cave ecology, but even more so. Did you know that there are species of plants? I know because I have them on my property. But there are species of plants that require no sunlight whatsoever, and yet they take all the toxins and molds and spores out of the air, and they clean your whole environment. Some of you know what I'm talking about. I don't remember the names of those plants, but I have them in my buildings on my property, and they literally detoxify the air. They require no sunlight. Just give them a little water every once in a while. There are all kinds of plants that can live. I mean, anybody who's done hydroponics knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody who's done yeah, there's all kinds of things that can grow in the dark. But then again, there's also bioluminescent light, and we have underground facilities right now being made by the U.S. Air Force. That's what it says on those giant tractors, the ones that build those tunnels. It says U.S. Air. I mean, they're underground, but it says U.S. Air Force. No different than Trump's mighty Space Force isn't doing a damn thing in space. It's Trump's Space Force is internet space. Has nothing to do with outer space. So, yeah, it's the underground deals. There's all kinds of ways that humans can survive in the underworld for long periods of time, and there are way too many traditions all throughout human history where humans were living in the underworld for a long period of time. So, yeah, this goes into Paul. Somewhere on the shelves back here, you may be able to see it, is a book called Earth Under Fire. And it's by Paul LaViolette, a physicist. And he goes on, and he even talks about humans had to live underground periodically throughout human history because he has recorded this intense gamma ray burst that comes from the sky periodically. And the only defense against it was just to hide underground. And it's like our ancestors knew when that time was coming. They could read the signs in the sky. And I did a video in my Nuna files where I showed a chart of Paul LaViolette's gamma ray bursts throughout history, and I lined it up perfectly with a chart of the Nemesis X appearances. Bam, 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 bam. It lines up. When the Nemesis X object appears in the sky, it's saturating our world with gamma radiation. So anyway, I digress. So what's all this paperwork, man? Well, what else you bring?
Oh, I got plenty of.
Man, you brought. We may never even get to the books.
Maybe.
What you got?
Well, the next thing I had that was a story from the Choctaw was there's a story that was recorded by De Soto's men when he met the Choctaw in the 1540s. There's a prairie that runs like from north central Mississippi down to like the central of Alabama. And the Choctaw have a story of how that was formed. They talk about these big lumbering beasts that would come and ram the trees and just rip the bark up and tear them down. And the descriptions match the descriptions of the mastodon. So that shows that they were around hunting in that area when the vapor canopy was still around, because those were large beasts. And that's one story that I thought was very fascinating. And another fascinating thing, they have a lot of ancient Great Flood legends that kind of match up with Noah, but one of the legends, like when they landed on the island and they looked at all the animals that are around, they noticed that the mammoth was not around anymore. So that was kind of another indication that the vapor canopy had collapsed and the flood had wiped out some of the larger animals. So that's some other anecdotes from Choctaw history.
It's pretty interesting. Those large beasts.
Yeah.
Don't we have some pictures of some of those large beasts that paleontologists and historians say never existed in the Americas, and yet we have all these artifacts.
Yeah.
You want to show some of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have the Acambaro artifacts. We know there's 55 or 35,000 vapor canopy marsupials, reptiles, and amphibians that are seen in that collection from Mexico. I've done videos on that. But the elephant, the mastodon, all been said to never have existed in the Americas. And yet, in living memory, within the last 1,000 years, we have inscriptions, effigies, references in the Olmec and in the Maya artwork showing huge mammoth to mastodon elephant type creatures, and they look very similar to the Indian African elephants. So, is that the one? Is that the only one you got right there?
I think there was another one too.
Oh no, there's not another one. There's a lot of them. Yeah. This is Ancient Man. Handbook of Puzzling Artifacts, William Corliss. It is a part of the massive Corliss collection that I've showed you guys before. This is a huge book. It is in small print. And this is one of the books I read in prison that just made me fall in love with OOPArts, because that's what this whole book is about. Out of place myths, out of place traditions, out of place history, and especially out of place artifacts. That's what this book is about. Covers everything too. So I marked the page numbers here, but I'm just going to flip through it real quick because the section is huge, so I shouldn't be able to miss it on the elephants. There's a whole section on elephants in here. I marked it. I got a lot marked in this book, man. But William Corliss covers all the strange human skeletons, artifacts, weird inscriptions, fossilized footprints, fossilized technology, advanced technological artifacts found, all kinds of stuff. All the weird metallic jewelry and bells and dishes and spoons and everything that's been found inside lumps of coal. And the coal was excavated from underneath mountains. Go figure that out. It's all in here. And I'm sitting here talking shit about how easy it's going to be to find all these elephants. And I'm going through all these effigies. Oh, here they are. Here they are. I found them. Elephants in America. Here's the section right here. We have so much to share with you guys today. I don't think we're going to get to all of it. All throughout America. Shut up, Bella. You know I'm recording in here, girl. All right. Effigies of elephants in North and Central America. Everywhere. Not just artwork, not just effigies, but also three-dimensional pieces like pipes and statues of elephants. This is all from North America. This is not Ice Age. This is all within the last 1,000 years, 15 centuries. Some of these are very, 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 very artistic. This is a pipe. Smoke pipe out of it. You smoke out of it. It's a pipe. If you don't think that's an elephant, something's wrong with you. That's an elephant. Stylized, artistic elephant. Here is an inscription on a bone. And it's a little, that's an elephant. That is a stick elephant. What do you think? What do you think that looks like, Grendel? According to these researchers, that is an elephant.
Yes. So it looks like.
Well, I mean, we can go ahead and give that to the critic, but you're not going to be able to mistake that. That's a Mayan relief. That is an elephant. Is it not? Right there. Isn't that the same one you showed?
Yes.
From a different book?
Yeah. From Guatemala.
From Guatemala. Mm-hmm. Yes, the Guatemala, Ecuador, all that's Maya.
Yeah.
Mayan.
And then here's another one from the Native American Paiutes. They used to have. They used to say that there were ships that used to sail down into the Death Valley area. And there's a pictograph.
No, they're talking about it?
Yeah, and there's a pictograph of a small Asian elephant carrying a rider.
Show that.
I mean, I don't know if you can read
historical, it. Yeah, you might have to. I don't know what's wrong with that camera today, dude. What is wrong with it? Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this camera today, dude. It might be not syncing up.
Maybe.
I can show it on my end. It's real clear. So Where did you see the?
Well, there's not a picture of the elephant. It's just talking about the ships. But they say that there's a ship. There's a pictograph of an Asian elephant
from 880 AD, a ship that has a pictograph of an elephant on it. But they're showing different ships that were drawn in ancient America. So the ancient Americans saw these ships as early as 880 AD. Now, the reason this is particularly interesting to me is not the elephant and not the ships, but the reference to ships being near Death Valley. Because I showed you guys in a prior video, David Hatcher Childress's research, where he cites an old book where Native Americans in California were walking tourists way out to this remote area in Death Valley. It's all sand. And then they showed them a perfectly preserved wooden ship half buried in the sand. What's it doing out there? I tell you guys all the time, deserts are former ocean beds, and those ocean beds are very, very new to the sun. Yeah, we're talking about within the last 3,500, 4,000 years, all these deserts were formerly the bottom of seabeds. Yeah, all of New Mexico, Arizona, parts of California, every bit of that out there was underwater. You can see it everywhere. So yeah, that's really interesting about the elephant. So we finished with the elephants?
I think so.
All right. What else you got? Because I got a whole bunch of stuff on. We have any more statues of animals or anything that didn't belong? Because he goes off. This is overwhelming right here. Overwhelming. So where are the elephants? Here's a good question. Yeah. So where are the elephants if they're not in the Americas? If they were seen and known so ubiquitously through the Americas, where are they now? I think I can answer part of this. So, of course, resets, cataclysms would do away. I mean, elephants require a large amount of vegetation to eat. But what if there was a 25-year period of darkness when the sun never showed and then the world got really, really cold? Because we have those Native American traditions. What would happen to the elephant population if that was to happen? Vegetation, there wasn't enough vegetation. They're not used to the cold weather. What would happen? They'd probably die out. Many species of animals have died out, but humans have continued, and other species of animals have continued. But what's really interesting is I want to show that pyramid with the lava. I'm going to show that. Look at this. Archaeologists know that this pyramid right here was built by a culture around 300 BC. And the whole civilization that built this culture dates from 500 BC to about 100 BC. This pyramid is I can't pronounce it. Suasulo. I'll show you guys. This is the pyramid of Suasulo. You guys know I can't pronounce all these weird deals, but that pyramid right there dates to about 300 BC. But this introduces an anomaly, and the anomaly is if you look closely on this chart, you're going to see that there's alternating levels of volcanic destructions, and you guys know this is the Phoenix phenomenon. This pyramid was built, and then that civilization suffered the Phoenix phenomenon, then suffered the Phoenix phenomenon again, and the civilization continued. But more and more layers of the lower courses of the pyramid in Mexico, or in Central America, they get buried as the civilization continues. Then there's an advanced civilization that emerges out of a Phoenix phenomenon period of volcanic ash. And then they get wiped out. But the pyramid ruins remain, and a new civilization moves in, and then it gets wiped out and buried in lava. Do you see the lava flow that covered most of the pyramid? And then look at the top right here where my finger is. Over thousands of years, a natural hill formed over the pyramid. So they didn't even know it was a pyramid. They thought it was a hill. They just thought it was a hill. Why is this significant? Because these dumbass uniformitarian geologists go out there and research the site, not knowing there's a pyramid underneath this hill, and they research the lava site. And like I tell you all the time, establishment scientists don't know shit about chronology. They don't know anything about how to date anything. Relative dating methods are all bullshit. These geologists determine and publish that lava flow is from 7,000 BC. Do you see the problem here? Yeah. These scientists all pompously just throw a date out. Oh, it's this lava flow here covered this area of Mexico is 7,000 BC. Oh, that sounds really impressive. And then you go to quoting your potassium argon readings. Then you compare it with your cherry-picked carbon-14 readings. And you talk about isotopes. Oh, yeah, the radiometric isotopes, they broke down to the degree to where we were able to ascertain that it matched the potassium argon dating, so we're giving it a window of about 7,000 BC plus or minus 100 years. Shut the hell up. I get tired of these uniformitarians because they're all dumb. They're just dumb. Proof of their idiocy is that when they dug into the hill, they found a pyramid that was attached to a culture that is dated affirmatively at 300 BC. You have to understand the idiocy here. We're only talking about 23 centuries distance from us today and these morons who are uniformitarians and the date of the culture of the pyramid. We're only talking about 23 centuries. But these guys today dated that lava flow that covers that pyramid. They dated the lava flow at 7,000 years BC. 9,000. They're 9,000 years ago. They are literally 7,000 years off. That's crazy. It's almost mind-boggling that people listen to this drivel. I had to get my roll out on that, man. It's ridiculous.
It is.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, those uniformitarians are no different than Graham Hancock. All the historians in the ancient world. Oh, yeah, it was 9,000 moons. The Sais priesthood only measured time in moons because, as Herodotus told us, the Egyptians did not trust the sun. The year had no meaning. This is why there has never been an Egyptian chronology ever until the Greeks tried to put one together under Manetho. There has never been one because the Egyptians always counted as year one when Pharaoh came to the throne. When the new Pharaoh came to the throne, it was year one all over again. And the Egyptians always counted every single time like that. But when they factored their own dynastic calendars against the timelines of other civilizations, it was always by lunar reckoning. Yeah, man. Somebody needs to educate Mr. Hancock on how to factor these things, and he would know Atlantis couldn't be 9,600 BC. It's 13th century BC. It's no different than the mistake these uniformitarians made. All right, man. I've been going too far. What's the next topic that you brought for discussion?
Well, some of the stuff that I found was to be interesting. Let's see if I think it's in this book. Is most of the stuff like the pre-Incan stuff that they try to push on the Incans, but you can tell that the Incans built on top of what was already there. Like, here's some examples.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Of the megalithic architecture of the pre-Incan civilization with the big stones as compared to that. And there's also...
So show that picture again. Let me see if it's clear. If it's not, I'm just going to hold it over here. I really don't know what's going on with this camera, man. But I do have a remedy. I have an excellent remedy, man. You know what remedy I have? Give me that book while you set up this camera. This is a totally different camera.
Okay.
And it's really clear. And just go into settings and make sure that audio is off so we don't get feedback. I'll show this off while you just completely take this camera off. So this is what he's showing. This is out of lost ancient technology of Peru and Bolivia. This is a Brian Forrester book. One of these days I need to have Brian Forrester on my channel, man. I really value his material. He knows well that there was a technologically advanced civilization in the Americas. I do think that I have brought new material to the field because in studying Brian Forrester's material, it was my conclusion that I showed you on YouTube that a lot of these things that are anomalous, upside down staircases and all these different weird impressions that are just technolithic precision are not just practice molds, but you're looking at the empty spaces left behind from fully excavated furniture, staircases, and materials. And all these mysteries are because you're looking at the negative spaces that were left behind. The actual core things that were removed from the rock are gone. We don't know where they are. So we're left with all these things that are super mysterious. So if we were to do molds on all these mysteries, we'd be able to see basically the shape of what was removed and understand that they had a technology accessible to them where they could actually put their technology against a cliff face of granite or igneous rock, and then instantly excavate a perfect form of a table with 4 chairs and pull it out the side. And it leaves something so mysterious to us, it's enigmatic. We don't understand what we're looking at. This is the reason I developed this theory, is because of all the upside down staircases that these different authors are talking about. No one's going to make an upside down staircase. You're looking at this inverse proportionally. That is what was left behind after a real staircase was taken straight out of it. So anyway, okay. This is the picture he's showing. And in this picture, what you see here is this is either Technolithic, post-Technolithic architecture, highly precise, done by machines, and then centuries to thousands of years later, this Heliolithic or post-Heliolithic megaliths, or these cyclopean stones, are put on top by a totally different civilization after some type of systemic reset. What you're seeing here is architecture by 2 fundamentally different time periods. And what's on top is more primitive than what was below. This is what he's showing. And this is what Brian Forster shows in a lot of his material. Here you go.
I have some of those upside down staircases.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, so
I got those marked too.
Hey, let's show a picture then. Because the upside down staircase is merely the mold left behind from a upside staircase that was removed. Oh, let me get you on camera. Let me get you on camera. See if, man, you're still blurry, dude. So this is a signal
Has
issue.
to be.
This is a signal issue. That's all right. It's no big deal. Damn, it sucks. They can hear you just fine though.
Yeah, but most of the stuff I have marked in this book is all of that like technology that they were using.
Are you guys seeing him clearly, or is it just me seeing him blurry, or is he blurry to you guys too? You know, I'm way out in the country, so I got my own Wi-Fi. Let's see. I'm waiting to see. Yeah, it's blurry. Yeah. Dawn says it's not very blurry. Jasmine says it's very blurry. Victoria says it's blurry. Yeah, so it's all.
It's got to be a signal issue.
It's signal. It's different. People can see different things.
So the upside down.
They can hear you just fine, man. Man, that sucks, man. It really sucks, dude.
But I think most of the pages I marked in that book is showcasing like the technology you're talking about, where they just cut pieces of stone straight out of the rock and just use it.
Yeah. Man, that sucks, dude. This is even, this camera's way worse than the other one, man. The other one was at least clearer. It is a signal issue. You know what I want you to do, man?
Yeah.
I don't even care, because we wanted to get on two different Wi-Fis, for both laptops. Go ahead and exit, and we're gonna get you off this hotspot.
Okay.
And we're gonna put you on the Wi-Fi. Just go ahead and exit. We're gonna try and get him clear. So here's the upside down staircase. Here's one of the this is the picture. This is one of the pictures that got me to really processing what I was seeing here, along with a lot of other anomalous stuff. Guys, there wasn't anybody here trying to make an upside down staircase. What you're looking at is what was left behind using a technology that fully excavated in situ whatever it is that they wanted. They excavated a piece of a staircase. They took it out, took it straight out the stone, just like that. This is far more technologically advanced than what we believe. Where Brian Forster and I are going to have some problems is trying to date these things Younger Dryas period, because it seems like all these authors have fallen prey to this Younger Dryas period Ice Age dating for Civilization X. And listen, you guys already know I got no backup in me. I'm more than willing to chronologically battle this out with all these people, because there's nothing to it. None of these civilizations are that old at all. So yeah, and it very well could be vapor canopy civilizations. And the reason I say that is because under vapor canopy conditions, you would get what's called epiphyseal cartilage buildup. You see these two skulls? The craniums are extended. Okay, the uniformitarian establishment historians today are going to tell you that oh, well, that's artificially created because the mothers would wrap the skulls, the soft skulls of the babies to get them to be born like that. And they're telling you the truth while covering up, well, they're telling you the truth while covering something else up. They're telling you the truth because after the vapor canopy period, the long skulls were regarded as a thing of beauty, and they were also regarded as a thing of the elitists. So those who survived the reset wanted their children to look like that, to continue that look, the same look they had, so they wrapped the skulls. But originally, those long skulls that's a part of vapor canopy anatomy. It's because in the vapor canopy, humans just continue to grow and grow and grow. They build up this epiphyseal cartilage buildup that makes them look more and more Neanderthalish the older they get. And it protects the bones. As the bones grow older, the epiphyseal cartilage buildup protects the bones and makes them stronger and stronger and stronger. And people grow and they just look Neanderthalic after they've been alive for a long time, and their skull continues to grow. Remember, it's a totally different world, the vapor canopy. Humans are living under an entirely different atmospheric pressure and all that. So, yeah, this book is fascinating.
Yeah.
This book is fascinating. I'm going to try to bring you in now. Are you on the Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. I swear, man. You jinxed my studio.
I guess so.
It's still, I don't know what to think because the whole setup is perfect. This is the setup I use in hotels. That is an awesome laptop. So that's an HP Spectre. It's got like a 0.5 terabyte processor. The camera always works really good. I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's just this.
This is it has to be the internet.
It has to be the internet. I live way out in the country, man. You look kind of clear right now. When you're still, you're crystal clear right now.
But yeah, with the elongated skulls, most of the stuff I was reading last night is a lot of the megalithic architecture, especially pre-Incan, they find a lot of those skulls alongside all those major blocks. So it seems like those are the people that built those.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else in the chat was saying they had red hair, and yes, that's correct. They found mummies like outside of Nazca, Peru, that have the elongated skulls that have the red hair. So,
it's not just there. I mean,
yeah, it's everywhere.
The Chinese Taklamakan Desert, underneath the desert, those mummies were redheaded. Arizona, the Smithsonian Institute, and the FBI actually raided an archaeological site. These college kids and all that. I'm trying to remember. I have it in my Chronicon, in my notes on Chronicon. I can't remember what author told the story, but it's in one of these books on giants. Because all these skeletons were 7.5 to 8.5 feet tall. They all had red hair, but they had masterwork textiles in baskets with thread counts that were unbelievable.
They all had 6 fingers.
And yeah, you read the same thing.
Yes. Yeah, they had 6 fingers.
They had 6 fingers on their hands and 6 toes on their feet. Same thing that said of Goliath's son. It said Goliath's son was more monstrous than Goliath, and he had 6 fingers on his hands and 6 toes on his feet. But you read the same thing I did. It's about in Arizona, the FBI raided, shook down the archaeologists.
Lovelock Cave.
Was it Lovelock Cave?
I think it's Lovelock Cave.
Made them. I don't know if that was I know Lovelock Cave. I don't think that's.
It might be there was another place too.
There was a place in Arizona. FBI raided with Smithsonian. They went in there and they took all the artifacts, took everything from everybody. Everybody had to sign NDAs. And one person broke the NDA, and this author told the whole story, said how the government came in here and took all that shit. And these redheaded 7.5 foot and 8.5 foot tall people in the desert of New Mexico, and they had amazing textiles and baskets that you just can't make today without machines. They made them. Might have been David Hatcher Childers talking about that. I got his whole collection of books up there. Oh, wait a minute. See that Giants book? You see the third one from the top
Giants
of the list?
on Record?
The Giants on Record. It might be in that book. Or it might be in I got like 5 or 6 books on Giants. It's in one of those books. But yeah, man, what else you bring?
Well, speaking of giant, I mean, when I was going through this, there was kind of a small blurb on the vapor canopy about some Native Americans that encountered a race of giants as they were migrating from the Great Fog, which could be the vapor canopy. They moved in mass from the western half of the United States, and it says that when they got to the shore of the Mississippi, they found a group of tall, let's see, they were so tall that the head of the tallest Lenape could not reach their arms. And the women were of higher stature and heavier limbs than the loftiest and largest man in the Confederate nations. They were called the Allegheny. And so, yeah, there's evidence of more tribes encountering giants in the Americas.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty. He's got a bunch of giants in here, but I didn't really isolate any of that stuff. Giants are just they're a given. I mean, like I tell you guys, Nietzsche said, when a matter becomes clear, it ceases to concern you. You guys know I've authored many books, and one of them is a huge book on giants. And it's not even mystery to me no more. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, there's just too much evidence for it. But yeah, but that civilization. I want to show you guys something. I know you've heard of the Antikythera computer. I know, Grendel, you've heard of the Antikythera computer was discovered underneath the Mediterranean Sea in the ruins of a shipwreck on the sea bottom in the year 1900 by sponge divers. In 1901, it was cataloged and isolated as an anomaly. No one knew what it was. In 1902, a researcher for the first time really examined it and publicized that it is an anomaly of great interest because it looked like a watch or a clock. So over the years, Robert de Sola Price and some other researchers on his team studied it for like 20, 25 years. And they put it through x-rays and scans and come to find out this relic that was sunk in a ship in around 83 BC. This is over 21 centuries ago. Around 83 BC, it was sunk in a ship, but it may have been a couple hundred years old by then. But still, what they found is astonishing because the Antikythera computer is so advanced, a differential geared mechanism, that the actual technology required to make it would be far more advanced than the object itself. Meaning it's not a standalone. Somebody just didn't make this. It was machined. Look at this mechanism. 21 centuries old. The Antikythera device. It's a differential geared mechanism. And what you're looking at is a very simple form. Let me show you what it really looks like under X-ray. This is Jonathan Gray, Dead Men's Secrets. Everybody who is interested in the topics that we're talking about right now should order everything. He's got 5 or 6 published books. I have them all. That's that whole stack right here. See this stack, Grendel?
Yeah.
All these books are Jonathan Gray books. This is the main one though. This man's books, I can't. He used to have a website called beforeus.com where he had all this stuff. I don't know why it got taken down. I can't find it. But in his book, he shows, man, look at that, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This is what the Antikythera device, 2,100 years old. This is what the Antikythera device is. Found in a shipwreck. Right here. Now, for those new to my channel, you're not going to know this. But in my Phoenix Phenomenon videos, I disagree with Zechariah Sitchin's conclusions on the Antikythera computer. I have caught Zechariah Sitchin leaning toward Jewish interpretations. He uses the Jewish chronology, Jewish calendar. That's why all his dates are off. Zechariah Sitchin also used the uniformitarian dating to link the Anunnaki with anthropological cycles of the Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon. He tried to bridge science and ancient cuneiform traditions. So Zechariah Sitchin has made a bunch of mistakes, especially the Shar being a year and not a day. But even more so, Zechariah Sitchin has basically been tainted with the fact that he is a Jew and that he tried to attribute this device because there is a Greek notation system on the outside of this device. And that Greek and the device looks like It looks like a box. This is it. It looks like a box. Zechariah Sitchin saw that Robert de Sola Price and other researchers interpreted the Greek symbols and said that for some reason, this device was used to measure cycles, going forward and backward in time with absolute precision, and that there is a moniker on the device that shows the year 584 BC. This is the interpretation of the researchers who scanned this device and studied it. They say about 584 BC, the whole subject of the device, the device's year zero for going forward and backward in time is 584 BC. Zechariah Sitchin said he thinks it's 585 BC. Why would he say that? Because he's Jewish. What happened in 585 BC? Babylon took Jerusalem. The fall of it. Here's another Jewish redacted tradition, like AD 70. The little. What's his new theory? Satan's little season theory. Here's another theory that attributes to Jerusalem an importance that wasn't there in the ancient world. All these weird theories, always Jerusalem's the center. They're all untrue. Christianity, Jerusalem's the center. Biblical prophecy, Jerusalem's the center. New Jerusalem's coming. Nothing. All that's redacted Jewish crap. None of it's true. Robert de Sola Price said 584 BC about. Zechariah Sitchin says it's 585. So it'll match the Jewish calendar. But I'm telling you now, the only date in history that makes sense of measuring events forward and backward in time is 583 BC. The Phoenix phenomenon date, because in 585 BC, Thales of Miletus, an astronomer and a naturalist and a mathematician, declared by his research that the sun was going to darken in 2 years. He published this in 585 BC. In 583 BC, the army of the Medes and the Lydians, after 5 years of continual warfare, were about to go ahead and get their row out and go ahead and finally determine which empire was going to be superior, the Lydian Empire or the Median Empire. And just before they engaged in battle, about 11 o'clock in the morning, the sun went dark, and it scared the shit out of both armies. This is long after eclipses were already being documented. And the moon isn't even a part of the narrative in the story of Herodotus when he told us about this. And the ancient Frisians, later the Lydians, built a monument to this event. It's at a place called Yassilokaia, and it shows the king of the Medes and the king of Lydia making a peace agreement, and they're both between them holding a black sun. In the historical record, the sun went dark and it scared both armies, and they took that as an omen that they're not supposed to fight each other. And they concluded peace. And one of the witnesses on the monument to Yassilokaia is none other than Nebuchadnezzar II, who just took Jerusalem in 585 BC. So all of it fits together perfectly, but it's 583 BC is why ancient astronomers would want to know cycles of time forward and backward. Because I've shown it on all my Phoenix phenomenon research you've seen. 585 BC can be used as an isometric epicenter to determine events in history and then look at the other side isometrically like a palindrome for their predictive value. This machine was made to measure Phoenix phenomenon episodes. So I just wanted to show you that's technologically advanced. You got any evidence of technologically advanced stuff over here?
No, but what I wanted to say about that is, like, if that wouldn't have been found in a shipwreck, we probably never would have found that, because on land, with it exposed to the oxygen, all that metal would have decomposed.
That is absolutely
rusted away.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
because world tanks and armament from World War I are already decaying. They're the ones that were left out in the fields, and they're in people's ranches and backyards.
They're almost gone now.
Yeah, they're already decayed, oxidized. You're absolutely right. This is why you don't find a whole lot of metal from the ancient world. It's all oxidized and it's gone. But also Egyptian chariot parts are rumored to have been found in the Red Sea. I don't doubt that tradition at all. It doesn't mean that the whole Exodus narrative as we've received through Jewish filters is true. It just means that there was a time period when Egyptians were chasing somebody, or an Egyptian vanguard was out there when the Red Sea had dried up for whatever reason, and they got caught when the tsunami came back. How did that get in here? So anyway, I got a critter flying around in here. I've never seen that before. What is that?
Yeah, it just appeared.
It must have been in here for a while. But anyway, I lost my train of thought. I wanted to show one more deal in here. I had another. Oh, it wasn't in here. It wasn't in here at all. It was in this book. So the Antikythera computer, it's not just a problem. It's not just a problem, but it brings more problems to the table on the uniformitarian model of history, because it's not supposed to exist. And the more problems that it brings is the fact that the engineering and science that we knew at the time of the manufacture of that box must have been far superior to anything that archaeologists and historians are willing to admit today. It must have been very, very precise. Just like the Baghdad battery. A whole bunch of these batteries have been found right here. This is a battery, and it puts out about 70 volts of electricity. What did they need to make batteries for in the ancient world? What do they need? Yeah. That's a battery. And it's not just the battery. It's not just the batteries and all that. Guys, you have to understand, we have records of Greek fire. Yeah. There's all kinds of people who want to theorize what Greek fire is and all that. They don't know. Oh, they were spraying, phosphorus or whatever. They don't know. They just know that the Greeks had a weapon that they could shoot from ship to ship, and it was like napalm. There was no way to put the fire out, because the more you did it, it just spread the fire. And yeah, you just didn't want to get hit with Greek fire. You also didn't want to. In the days of the Tartars, when the Tartarians under Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan were taking over China, in those wars, incendiaries were used, grenades. This isn't just in the historical record. We found them, and it was accidental. And again, we found the actual hand grenades that they were using only because they were found in shipwrecks. Mm-hmm. In 1281 AD, Kublai Khan put together a massive navy to now invade Japan. They were going to go take out the shogunate. They never made it because they got wiped out in a typhoon. Those ships have been found by archaeologists, and in the holds of those ships are crates of hand grenades. So there's nothing new about technology at all. The only thing new is we've been dumbed down to believe that we started from primitive and we're just now getting to be advanced. But the whole subject matter of Jonathan Gray's whole series of books is that we started off technologically advanced, and there's no period where we can show that we were primitive in the far ancient past. But the closer we get to 3,000 year mark, we got really dumb and literally started over at basic 5th grade educated type deal. We just had to educate ourselves and relearn everything. It's the exact opposite of what we found. What else you got?
I got some questions.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Well, you've said before, like the Toltecs have been said to be a Caucasian race, yes, and they're usually settlers from the Sea Peoples Confederation. And do you think that the pre-Inca civilization was also from that race? And what other races in the South America or North America do you think came from elsewhere?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to have to defer to Thor Heyerdahl. Thor Heyerdahl's books, right? See all those books? There are like 4 of them there. Thor Heyerdahl was not very popular in the 1940s and 50s because he actually did the things that academia said were impossible, such as academia published widely that there's no trans-Pacific civilization that could go from island chain to island chain and go and make it to South America and then hop from island chain to island chain to island chain and get to India? There wasn't none. So Thor Heyerdahl built a reed ship out of the same materials that were available to them 4,000 years ago and did just that. He got a reed ship and he did it. And he published the book Aku Aku. And he published all these other books, right? You see the Thor Heyerdahl books right there?
Yeah.
Thor Heyerdahl was also an expert on Sumerian antiquities. Most people don't know this. And he gives the full history of the Anunnaki, and he shows that they were a mariner race. They weren't gods from space. They weren't your Billy Carson, Zechariah Sitchin version. They were actually technologically advanced, and they were Caucasians who appeared in ships among indigenous peoples that could not grow facial hair. And this amazed the people they came into contact with. And Thor Heyerdahl in the 50s was the first one to describe Anunnaki history as being cargo cult phenomenon. Just cargo cult. That's all it was. Same thing that happened in World War II when United States military personnel used Pacific Islands in the war against Japan. And the Pacific Islanders would mimic everything they saw that the U.S. soldiers were doing. It's cargo cult. So, yeah, Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, Viroka, Boquica, they're all bearded. They were all bearded civilization founders who left dynasties behind of indigenous peoples, and they were all looked upon favorably. They all promised to return. And their departure and their return is always connected to legends of like disasters, great flood, stuff like that. So yeah, it's we find, I mean, this is a real touchy subject because people get this racial animus that just naturally rises in people. It gets triggered. People get triggered, but it's a historical fact that the ruling dynasties of almost the entire world were always lighter skinned than the people they ruled. And this is true with the Hittites, which had Amuru. The Amuru were ruling Mitanni, Hittites, and northern Africa. They weren't ruling southern Egypt. They were ruling northern Egypt, which is called Lower Egypt, which is cosmopolitan. And the southern Egyptians, the Cometians, the people of Luxor, Wasat, Karnak, Thebes, Valley of the Dead, those Egyptians, which did not build pyramids like the ones in the north, who were cosmopolitan, the southern Egyptians hated the northern Egyptians and called them Hyksos, which was a derogatory term. Yeah, calling them shepherds and shepherd kings. They didn't like them. But they were also a different culture and a different race. So we have the Tamahu and the Amuru. We have the Urartians, the Ururians, the Arya, the Aryans. They were ruling over all these areas, but they were a minority. They were very intelligent. They were very advanced. But they were connected to a civilization that had its center elsewhere. And if that civilization the fact that civilization was elsewhere is what gave them their power, because Sumer, Akkad, all the Harappan cultures, North Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Bashan, Argob, Ammon, Moab, Hittite Anatolia, with the capital city of Hattusis, all of Mitanni or Urartu, all these areas were ruled as colonies, meaning the center of empire was somewhere else. This is the subject matter of my research on the Heliolithic maritime empire. And this is when, this is the civilization that I claim, and I cite many researchers who say the same thing, that it was in Central America. This massive empire was ruled from Central America, where we have all these traditions and all these legends there are greater details to the flood story and the Tower of Babel story and the stories of the giants from Central America than ever from the Bible. Very detailed. So it was 1135 BC, the actual year Atlantis was destroyed, that all these empires were broken and that all these ruling dynasties collapsed. Because once the center of empire across the Atlantic fell, all the colonies rebelled, and all the indigenous people rose up and they took over their countries, and this is when that civilization ended 3,100 years ago, and it started the 300-year-long Great Mediterranean Dark Age that I talk about all the time. All this fits together perfectly. If anybody read Chronicon, you already know all these things fit together lockstep, absolutely perfectly. You just have to understand Atlantis wasn't 9600 BC. It can't be. The historians of the time said it was 9,000 gnomes, which puts it in the 13th century BC, which makes sense of the Solonic Platonic version of Atlantis, which says that the entire war was because of Athens, and Athens was founded in 1365 BC. There was no Athens in the Younger Dryas period. You have to be a real dolt to believe that. It's just crazy. The whole focus of the Atlantis story was Athens. Okay, again, I just ran over you, bro.
No, that was awesome.
Man.
That was amazing. I was wondering if you've read any reports like during the Dark Ages or the Black Plague of what was happening in the Americas, if there was any kind of strange phenomenon that was maybe passed down. Because I know a lot of stuff wasn't written down by Native Americans, but are there any oral traditions that may have been written down about like strange anomalies at that same time?
Funny you should say that, because during the European Dark Ages, it was actually a period of great thriving in Ecuador, in Central America, Veracruz State. The Mayan cities were thriving all the way up to a single event in the year 936 AD. 936 is the very end of the Dark Ages, just beginning the Middle Age period. So, and 936 AD, there is a mysterious vanishing of Mayan population. The cities were still there, even to the point where the jungle could just take over the cities. And there were outlying populations that just came in, moved in. But archaeologists are pretty convinced for about a 100-year period, it's like everybody just disappeared. And it started in 936. Also, 936 is also the deterioration of the date steals of the Mayan sky watchers. Most people don't know this, but the Maya were very meticulous, and there's date steals for all kinds of events in Mayan history, starting with about 31 BC, going all the way to about 900 AD. They were very meticulous. The Mayan sky watchers recorded all kinds of things, and they would erect these date steals. All that ended in the 10th century AD. All that ended. No one really knows why. The Maya just kind of vanished and became nothing. And they kind of just, it's very unusual. But what isn't unusual is 936 AD is on the Phoenix timeline, the 138-year timeline of the Phoenix. 936 AD is one of those dates. It's very peculiar. It's very peculiar. I have a lot of information on 936 and the rapid decline and just total disappearance of the Mayan people. So the reason I'm answering that is because for 4 centuries during the Dark Ages, the Maya were just fine. While the Dark Ages were in Europe and the Mediterranean, in India and China, in the Americas, it wasn't a Dark Age. In the Americas, things were just going normal. There's evidence of warfare. There's evidence of a few earthquakes and stuff like that, but they just trekked on until right before the Middle Ages for the rest of the world started. In the Americas, the Maya just quit. It's like they said, we're done, and just floated up into the sky. They're gone. I don't know. But yeah, I should really do a really in-depth video on Mayan chronology. I really should, because I have a lot of notes on it. I just haven't put it together. I really should do that. Which any type of study on Mayan chronology is first going to have to deal with the mystery of the Olmecs.
That was one of my questions. Was like
the Olmeca were first,
yeah.
But they got wiped out by Phoenix too. The very last date on an Olmec date steal, the very last one. This ain't me making this up. I've showed it. I've showed the books and the research multiple times on my channel. The final date of any Olmec date steal is equal to our calendar 31 BC. 31 BC was the Battle of Actium, Roman Civil War. Sky Dragon appears over Egypt. it rains red blood, like red rain or red blood is said to have fell down in the Mediterranean in 31 BC. The worst earthquake in all of Jerusalem's history up until this point, 31 BC occurred. The earthquake also shook and collapsed buildings as far as Olympia in Greece. This is a huge earthquake, and it's probably even bigger than that. If it's gonna reach from Olympia to Jerusalem, then it probably was transcontinental. It's probably a huge earthquake. It's just these are the two centers of literacy. They were the ones who recorded the event. So massive sky fallout in 31 BC, earthquakes. Let's see, there's tsunamis. There's all kinds of stuff, but it happens to be the very last date ever entered on the Olmec date steels. After that, the Olmeca disappear. Again, it's a Phoenix date. It's on the 138-year timeline. You just can't make this shit up. People think I just make this stuff off the top of my head until they look at my sources. Like, damn, all this came from different languages, different time periods, different research throughout the world, and they all say 31 BC. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. I don't make this stuff up. These cataclysms are so real. Can I share this real quick?
Sure.
Super, super interesting. This is the Nampa figurine. That's the Nampa figurine. It's a little toy, and it's a little figurine. Nampa, Idaho. This is also one of the pieces of evidence in what did I do with that book, Forbidden Art? Have you seen Forbidden Archaeology? Huge book. I don't know what I did with it. Mm-hmm. I lose book. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Yeah. This is one of the pieces of evidence in this book too, Forbidden Archaeology. Yeah, this is Richard Thompson, Michael Cremo. I've talked about this book a lot. They talk about the Nampa figurine and the ramifications. You have to understand what we're dealing with here. How do you explain in Nampa, Idaho, digging a well of 600-foot depth? How do you explain when they pulled materials up from the well, the bore, there's a figurine made by humans at 200-foot depth or 600-foot depth? How do you explain that? How do you process that information in an area that is so secluded and humans just got there in modern times and they're building their infrastructure in the 1880s and they pull up this artifact? Because it's not the only one. This book and this book and 3 different researchers who know their shit provide us in numerous figurines, artifacts, bells, trinkets, bracelets, necklaces, rings. I'm talking about bells, just like this one. Where's my little silver bell at? You see a silver bell in here? I lose everything. Man, here it is. Little bells, just like this. Little bells. How do you explain that all of these have been found inside coal deposits? How do you explain that? I have shared in my earlier videos that we have enough archaeological OOPArts to claim now with confidence that while ancient civilizations seem to be very close to the surface everywhere else in the world, you don't have to dig far. Like Göbekli Tepe, you don't have to dig far. It's right there. Not in North America. In North America, like Heavener, Oklahoma, 2 miles below the surface of Heavener, Oklahoma, coal miners come across obsidian black walls, windows, paved streets in a cavern. A wall broke through. They find this whole area. They shut the whole operation down. How do you explain that in North America, from 600-foot depth to 2 miles depth, all across North America, we find evidence of infrastructure? Yeah, and very modern too. All these metallic objects. Yeah, how do you process that? How do you process that these coal mining companies in the 1800s and early 1900s, because you have to understand how it was done, they provide as a service blocks of coal, big old irregular pieces of coal, and then this coal was delivered to different homes, or you went to the general store to get your lumps of coal. But it was always in big pieces. And then everybody had next to their furnace in the 1800s, in the early 1900s, they had a coal hammer. Some people had a coal chisel. Coal breaks apart real easy, but they had this coal hammer so they could fit pieces of coal into the small hole for their furnace. These furnaces were designed to maximize the amount of heat that was radiated from a small compartment that was burning coal. And they had this small little window where they chunk coal. And this is what people did. A lot of people had a special basin where the coal was set, and they just chip off pieces and put it in there. How do you explain so many artifacts that have been found when people were just chipping coal to throw it in their furnace, and a ring popped out, an inscription popped out, a bell popped out, a necklace popped out? What happened to the humans that made these things when we're finding these things so deep in the earth? Only in North America. What happened? Now, Jonathan Gray, Jason Brashears, and some other researchers, we're not the only two, have pretty much determined that the histories of the pre-flood world had to have happened in North America. It didn't happen where Sumer and Babylon is. How do we know? Because even Sumerologists will tell you that none of these histories could have happened here because of the mountains and the rivers and all kinds of geographical things that are talked about in the Sumerian records. There's no mountains there. That's a valley. It's called the Euphrates-Tigris Basin. These histories of Sumer didn't happen in Sumer. They were only written down and preserved in Sumer. Happened somewhere else. So, yeah, there's so many of those things. What was your question again? You know me, bro.
Yeah, you pretty much answered it.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So what else you brought?
But actually, for my next question,
you brought half a book. You wrote all that before you came here?
Some of it. Well, some of this is just blank paper, but
shoot off whatever you got.
Well, I was reading the Gateway of the Sun at Tiahuanaco. They claim that it used to be aligned to the solstices, but it's not anymore. Do you think that maybe that was aligned to the solstice on the Nemesis ecliptic instead of on the ecliptic we're on now?
Okay, here's something that needs to be addressed. When you talk about anything like Tiahuanaco, you are talking about something pre-8th century BC. Everything built before the 8th century BC was on the Nemesis ecliptic. Now, when you look at the orientations, like in this book here, it gives temple orientations. And they're always trying to theorize why all these temples are like 15 degrees off. You know what I mean? They're showing, okay, well, look, newer temples are built looking straight at where the sun pops up, like in the month of May. Like Stonehenge. Original Stonehenge was showing us where the sun pops up in the month of May. For some reason, it's like a prophetic calendar, just like the Great Pyramid. Only built using computer technology because it was able to ascertain what the world was going to be at that far future date. Even the traditions attached to the Great Pyramid are all about it was built for a generation in the last days that could decipher these things. It wasn't built according to Enoch. None of his ministry was for his time. It was for a latter day generation. So we have all these temples and all these dolmens, cromlechs. We have all these things that have these alignments, but they're like 15 degrees off. And Assyrian temples, if you've noticed the different time periods in Assyrian temples, the post 8th century BC temples are all in totally different alignment than the more ancient temples. And let me tell you something, uniformitarian archaeologists are always just washing over this. So they've drawn up these interesting little theories that, well, maybe it's not even about the moon or the sun. Maybe it's that star pattern right there. They were worshiping that star, right? So they built up these elaborate theories about different stars and different constellations, which wouldn't even have been true because the sky would have been very different back then. So yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. We're dealing with different time periods of history. The archaeology would make sense on the Nemesis X object, but even on the Nemesis X ecliptic. But it doesn't even matter, because the sun would still be in the sky if we were on the Nemesis ecliptic. It doesn't change the distance from the sun. It doesn't change any of that. It just means you move to another plane. Now, what it would change is the sun might be setting from north to south. or the sun might have been rising in the west and setting in the east on that system. And this may explain why the older maps have totally different orientations than newer maps. So we don't really know. We don't really know. A lot of this is theoretical, but the very fact that there's two ecliptics and that Earth has bounced back and forth between both of them is absolutely answers for this massive distinction in time periods and the alignments of these structures. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah, that answered all my question about that. Because yeah, I've noticed a lot of ancient sites don't properly line up.
No, they have all kinds of theories as to why.
Yeah, but it's just slightly off.
They have all kinds. I've seen illustrations in this book of different temples, and they're showing arrows going in different directions, trying just building theories as to why it's not working. Now, just because there was a period of time when Earth was back on the Nemesis ecliptic in the 8th century, according to Emanuel Velikovsky's research, everything changed again. Okay, well, Earth came back to a deal. Listen, we have more evidence that this jumping happens far more than we think. It wasn't just one time in history. You understand? So Earth began on the Nemesis ecliptic, and then for a while was on the Sol ecliptic during the pre-flood period when there was no vapor canopy, and then where many monuments were built and all these structures, and then all of a sudden Nemesis X appears, because Nemesis X appeared twice during the pre-flood world. Nemesis X, Nibiru, acts like the fairy. It's called the fairy. So Earth could have been on the Nemesis ecliptic and on Sol's ecliptic in the pre-flood, in the 1656 years of the pre-flood world, or the 3,000 years before the flood, because the Anuna calendar begins 5239 BC, and there must be a reason why they started the calendar on that date. That could have been the exact date that Earth jumped the Nemesis plane and was put on Sol plane. And then it stayed on the Sol plane for a while until a massive systemic reset, Adam and Eve reset, which started a whole new timeline. And now Earth's back on the Nemesis plane. Then Earth's back, and the Great Flood of Noah, Earth's back on Sol plane. And then 8th century BC, Emanuel Velikovsky's research, Earth's shoved right back onto the Nemesis plane. This makes sense of many of the ancient traditions and legends when it's talking about these objects coming out of the north of space, covering the sun, darkening it, and disappearing into the sky dragons moving from north to south. Doesn't even make sense without acknowledging that Nemesis plane. And the Titius Bode law literally screams that Earth is the intruder. We don't even belong here. So, and because I'm a simulationist, I believe every bit of this can be painted in the sky, and the world actually isn't moving at all. It's like a giant simulator that we're living in, and it's telling us this story, and it's painting all this, but it's not actually happening. It's all very intriguing. I believe that this is all for us to discover. Every bit of this, we are sent into this construct to make these discoveries and to put all this together, because that's what a simulation is for. To discover something without suffering the consequences of mistakes. That's what a simulation is for, right?
Makes sense.
I mean, jet fighters, they're put in a simulator for like 2 years before they're allowed to get in one of those $500 million machines, right?
Yeah, the same. The same as like airline pilots.
Yeah, airline pilots. Yeah, why? Because you're allowed to learn all this in a simulated environment where your mistakes have no consequence. Because when you make those mistakes in that $500 million machine, it becomes expensive. Yeah, man. Same thing. Same principle applies. Hit me with another one. That's a good question. That's a really good question.
I think that's the end of my questions that I brought.
I know you got a whole bunch of paperwork there, man. You got something in there.
Oh, there was one thing that I don't remember which book it was in. I think it was this one. There was an anecdote about Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce. He had a pendant that he wore that he gave to some general, and it turned out to be a 4,000-year-old Mesopotamian cuneiform inscription of it was translated. I think they translated it was like a receipt for a lamb purchase, but but he had it. But he had it, and he wore it as a pendant. So that came from elsewhere. So that's really
good. That's a really good thing to point out too. Most people aren't familiar when they hear about cuneiform and they hear about Sumerian records and Akkadian cuneiform. They automatically jump to the conclusion that everything that these people were talking about was all these mysteries and Anunnaki and giants and gods and all. It's not.
Yeah, no, most of it's receipts or like business transactions.
It's all mercantile.
Yeah.
It's all priestly prayers. It's prayers. It's sigils. It's letters of marque, business transactions, deeds, titles. That's 95% of all cuneiform is business transactions. Bunch of bullshit. So it's about 5% is where all this Anunnaki history and gods and all this stuff comes from. But there is another major discovery of a Sumerian text in the Americas. It's been published in many books, and it's a Sumerian cuneiform, or it might be logographic, but it's early Sumerian. It talks about King Shulgi. I did a video on YouTube about it. A Sumerian relic found in North America, a tablet that talks about King Shulgi, and King Shulgi really was a Sumerian king. And what that tablet was doing here in the Americas, nobody knows. But it's from like 2100 BC, shortly after the flood cataclysm. That's really interesting. I know you know about the crystal skull.
Yes.
I know you know about that. I wish I had a better picture of it. I know there's a better picture of it in this library. There's probably 100 pictures of it.
Probably so.
I just don't have all the right books. But again, Michael Hedges in the ancient city of Lubanton, which was formerly believed to be a Mayan city, now it's found out to be even older than the Maya, found the crystal skull. So the crystal skull is really interesting. It's been debunked over and over by uniformitarians because they can't allow for its existence. Here is a skull with all the cranial marks that look like it's human. The sockets it looks like a human skull. But the problem with the existence of the crystal skull is that it has a movable jaw. It has a movable jaw. And we don't know what technology, even today, unless we manufacture the crystal ourselves. We don't know how they did that. How do you have a movable jawbone on a crystal skull that looks very human without fracturing the jawbone when you fit it in? When you fit the jaw on, how you do that? It had to have been made by a technology that made it in situ. The same thing we saw with the underground staircases. The underground staircases the upside down staircase. Nobody made an upside down staircase. No, they used some type of technology that excavated in situ a real staircase straight out the wall, and you're looking at what was left behind. Same thing with this removable jaw. How the hell did they do that? Crystal has no yield, right? It's none.
Right.
You can't even bend crystal. How the hell do they put the jaw on? So there's two conclusions. We're dealing with an advanced technology which uniformitarian archaeologists will never accept. Or two, we're dealing with a real human skull, somebody who was flash fossilized, whatever, into crystal. And archaeologists, uniformitarians, they're not going to accept that either. I'm willing to go with the advanced technology route. But who knows? We have seen evidence. One of my books in here goes into a whole femur, ankle, lower ankle, heel, and foot bones of a human that stood about 7 foot tall has been found in diorite. But half of the diorite has crystallized into quartz, and the whole bone is quartz crystal. And there's pictures of it. It's a famous find. It's been shown in museums for like 50, 60 years until evolution was just took over in the early 1900s, and now it just disappeared in some museum basement. Who knows? Smithsonian may have put it on one of those ships they sank out in the Atlantic. Who knows? But looking at the chat, so it could be. Everything is debunked. I'm sitting here looking at who said that? I thought it was determined the crystal skull was fake and modern. Carl Undergard. Everything from the ancient world has been determined to be fake and modern. I mean, you got people that debunk everything, even though they've never even done the research. They just read a book, say, it's been debunked. Everything. I mean, everything in Archaix has been debunked by somebody. They just say, man, all right, I debunked. They put out a stupid ass 6 or 7 minute video and say 4 or 5 things, and then they have the bragging rights to say I did an Archaix debunk video. Absolutely pedantic, stupid. But yeah, for those of us who are really trying to chase the real information, if you're going to debunk something, it requires a whole lot more than that. if there are thousands of testimonies of all kinds of OOPArts found all over the world, then you're going to have to go back and debunk them all. You can't just say all this shit's bullshit. You have to actually do the work. So, yeah, these researchers put their lives into all this. William Cortis's, all this right here is anomalies of the whole world. Charles Fort, I don't know where it is, but there it is right there. The complete works of Charles Fort, Jonathan Gray, David Hatcher Childress. These men put the work in. Oh, it's amazing stuff. It's very easy to say something is untrue from behind a computer screen, but it's just very easy. Yeah, these are genuine mysteries. And you have to understand, too, these aren't just things we find in books. Scientists all over the world have looked at all these things, trying to find ways to debunk stuff, trying to find ways to dismiss things, like the Archaixhelp artifacts, 35,000 artifacts of vapor canopy creatures. You know, marsupials, amphibians, and reptiles, and humans interacting with them, like dressing them up, riding them, all kinds of stuff. And it's so anomalous, but it can't be debunked. Yeah, they're still finding these artifacts in Mexico. They're still finding them. And then this goes into, they don't want to talk about it because it supports William Niven. William Niven actually went to Mexico and found at 60-foot depth whole evidence of whole buried cities, pyramids at 60-foot depth near Mexico City. And they have really put the smash down on this man, because they even published a whole series of books trying to debunk this man's discoveries, and it's just amazing. And the reason they're trying to is because he found those at a time when uniformitarians were publishing the Ice Age theory real strong. And he came out and found all these artifacts and showed woolly mammoths and mastodon remains among humans, smashed into whole cities that were just crushed by the weight of some type of cataclysm. And they're at 60-foot depth outside of Mexico City. His name is William Niven. And there's been a huge campaign to discredit this man's research. But so yeah, it's just there's too much evidence, way too much evidence. If the whole world, if establishment archaeology is telling you one thing and they're telling you something else is untrue, you should research what they're saying is untrue. Right. Wait. What else you got?
That's it.
No way. Well, what was that? What's in that book?
Let's see. I might have had some other things marked here.
All kinds of stuff. 494.
Oh, the Minoan connection.
Okay.
Because the Pima Indians have this symbol that well, I think you had the picture in another book, but this is just talking about where they had the Minoan maze symbol that looks like the same.
Oh man, was that in this book here?
I think it was.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But this is talking about it that shows that there was evidence of the Minoans' contact with the Americas.
So that book right there goes into the Minoan, which is Central Mediterranean, Knossos, Crete, and there was connections between the Minoans and ancient Americans. When he was reading that, let's show this book.
Yeah.
This is what this book is talking about, the connection between the ancient Mediterranean and the ancient Americans. So this is Secrets of Ancient America by Carl Lehrberger. Now, when he was telling me about what was in this book, I was going through this book and I found something amazing. It was basically around the same time you were telling me about it, weren't you? So I marked them all. I marked the page numbers down. So let me go from page to page so I can show you guys something incredible. It was the Minoan labyrinth.
Yes.
Yeah, something incredible. Again, how do you explain this? Let me find it. 651. I'm almost there. I know I'm almost there. Okay, fossilized technology. All these are artifacts that were found fossilized. All this is coal. Look at these inscriptions. Amazing stuff. All this is found in North America. So 673. I'm real close. I know I'm close. It's going to be 691. I hope I'm close. I can't believe I can't find this, man. I thought I marked them all.
I thought so too.
Man, it was a Minoan maze. I've had to have already passed it, man. It has to be in these pages that I just passed. Because I marked, it was so interesting to me. I wanted to show it. Was it even in this book?
think it was.
I only had 2 books.
Because I was reading this book and you found it right after I was started talking.
Oh, I found it. There it is. Right there. It is. There it is. Okay. Oh, Arizona. That's right.
Yeah.
I want you to see this guy. So this other book that he's reading over here, showing evidence, but it didn't show this. This is William Cortis's research in this book here, Ancient Man Handbook to Puzzling Artifacts. So he's telling me about the crossover between ancient America and the Minoans of Crete in the middle of the Mediterranean. And I come across this, found in Arizona. What? Are you serious? A Minoan maze on one side and the same thing in ancient Arizona on the other. This is absolute proof of transatlantic communications between the Americas and the ancient Mediterranean, which is also the subject matter of the Archaix research, because that's the Heliolithic maritime empire, for which was later ended, was a maritime empire that was governing over both hemispheres. Ships are going back and forth like crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's amazing right there, dude. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad you remember to see that. So let's look at 651. Because I need to show the Nazca lines. Remember I told you about the Nazca lines? Because I want my community to see what I see. Okay, here's the section, fossilized technology. I went too far. Maybe it's 494 or 559. Go to 494. Yeah, here it is, 494. Okay, so Nazca, Peru on the Altiplano, very, very flat. You tell me in the comments section, you tell me what you see here. Then I'm going to tell you what I believe happened. This is the Nazca, Peru. This is Nazca, Peru. What do you see here? This is from an aerial photography at high altitude, looking down on the Nazca lines. It's called the Nazca lines. But I'm going to tell you what you see here. You see a very advanced runway. You see taxiways. And then all the other patterns like monkeys and butterflies and dragonflies and little men with wearing helmets and all these other things that appear on Nazca, because you've all seen the Nazca patterns. Many people theorize it might be some primitive old zodiac and all that. Nope. What you're looking at originally was a runway and taxiways, and only after that civilization vanished, we have cargo cult phenomenon. Same thing in World War II. They built their own runways. They were primitive. And they built their own airports. And they were hoping that the sky birds came down and brought more cigarettes and T-shirts. Nazca lines, Peru, 4,000 years ago. These are runways. These are taxiways. And then all these other patterns that face the sky were cargo cult phenomenon, effigies put into the area to induce the gods to come back. This is Eric von Daniken's theory. I believe maybe Billy Carson's as well. And the only difference the Archaix analysis provides is that it's cargo cult ritual trying to get pilots to come back. Where the problem lies is Ancient Aliens is taking it to mean astronauts. It's not necessary. That's not even necessary. It was an airport. And it's not the only one that we found. I thought that was pretty interesting too. Anybody who's seen all the Nazca lines, you can see they're geometrically perfect. But it looks like later a culture came and put these animals there. I don't know why, but it kind of takes away from takes away from what looks like an airport now. But if you were to remove all the primitive effigies of animals and all that, you're left with airstrip, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're left with, an airstrip. Does this comport with the traditional record? Well, of course, because around 4,000 around 4,000 years ago, we do have the development of traditions that seem to be based on memory. And that memory is of vimanas, craft that could fly through the air. Now, there's whole, even in Sanskrit, there's whole technical manuals on how to fly your vimana and how to do dog fighting with your vimana.
And the flight checks.
Yeah, how to do pre-flight checks on your vimana. This is all found in Sanskrit, guys. None of this is made up. A lot of books about it. Let's see. You almost drying out over there?
Yeah.
I can't believe you, man. Can't believe you only got fossilized technology. All these giant human skeletons found. The same story over and over. The Smithsonian was dispatched, and then the relics were later lost. That's what it said. It says in there over and over and over and over. It's crazy.
Oh, here's another OOPArt of Phoenician writing that they found in
we got a bunch of that.
Creekstone.
Yeah, we got a bunch of that. What is that? Oh yeah. I have books right here on the shelf by Barry Fell. That's his specialty. Syro-Phoenician, Israelite, Libyan, Egyptian writings, Roman writings, all over America. That's what he does. Yeah. This is from the Americas. Doesn't belong here. It belongs on the other side of the world. But there's a bunch of these. There's like 100 examples of this found across North America. It's pretty interesting. Again, that's this book. We're close to summing up this video, but I got to show these fossilized artifacts, and I can't remember where they are. Here's a whole section on all the Indian tribes in North America that had blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes, white, race of the Atlas, according to the Mandan Indians.
Oh, the ones that spoke Welsh, supposedly.
Southwestern Journal of Anthropology, 1950. Several subcategories of North American Indians spoke a high degree of Welsh. How'd that happen? Guess what traditions that they said? They said that they went to war with a previous white race that was here way before the English and Dutch and French and Genoan colonists. Way before that. The Native Americans were already telling of a white race that was here in North America before that the Indian cultures had went to war with a long time ago. It's crazy. A lot of good stuff in these books, man. A tribe of white Eskimos. The light-skinned natives of New Guinea. White immigrants and Polynesian traditions. The white Indians of Darien and the Atlantic coast. Even a white race in Korea.
And there was also that Indian tribe that had the blonde hair.
Yep. Then you got the yellow men of Central Africa. And the red race of Madagascar. Red race is like the ancient Egyptians, the southern Egyptians. Yeah, man. So it's so interesting. How did I still miss? Here's all the giant humans. Oh, fossilized technology. So this part of the book, for those of you who like to spend money on books, you're going to want William Corliss's book. You're going to want this book. I'm telling you. I don't get no money for you buying this book. All I'm doing is sharing the information. Fossilized technology goes through here and he provides overwhelming information on all the things that have been found inside coal deposits when people were just tapping the coal to knock it into smaller pieces to fit it in their ovens. Amazing things that were found. Also, hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of feet of tubing has been found underground, made of blocks, just made of clay and ceramic, just like this. Yeah, that's very modern. It's very modern. Thimbles, metallic objects, coins. Coins have been found. Ancient, unrecognizable coins found inside coal deposits.
Yeah, here's some more ancient plumbing that was in here from South America.
Oh, man, I wish I had that other. There's another plumbing picture I saw of a whole pipe going through a valley. They dug the whole pipe out. It's like, man, how many thousands of years old is somebody had this pipe going all the way through this valley? This is cool, too. This is what? Where's this from? South America?
In South America.
Yeah, here's plumbing. These are for those of you plumbers out there, you know what these are. These are elbows. Those are elbows right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is plumbing. Those are piping going through that rock. This is ancient plumbing, guys. Very sophisticated. And I don't know what book it was. But I have another book that shows miles of tubular cylinder plumbing going through a whole valley excavated here in America. Don't even know where it's from. This inscription was found in granite. We don't know what that means, but that's an inscription found deep underground in North America. I've got so much stuff. I wish I could find that plumbing, man. That's such a cool picture. And I don't even know if it was this book, because last night I went through a lot of books.
Yeah, we did.
So I don't even know if it was this book, man. Damn, that sucks. I don't even know if it was Forbidden Archaeology, but it's a valley and it shows all this plumbing. So many interesting things. I'm just going to give it a second here. Molds. Yeah, there's illustrations of molds in here. Because even oh, there it is right there. There it is right there. I'm sorry, it's not North America. It's southern Mexico. Somebody's moving this. Look at this pipe. When they excavated it, there it is right there. I'm gonna show it to you, Grendel, just a second. Now, a lot of you guys have seen Paul Cook. Paul Cook has boots on the ground, gone to Malta. He has shown all kinds of archaeological anomalies. I probably should have Paul Cook come back on the channel, because we haven't caught up with him lately. It's been a while, but the last time he blew our mind, showing us pictures, boots on the ground of Malta, showing things you can't even see in books, showing advanced techniques in ancient building, and it was just really, really, really awesome. Even to the point where it looks like in modern times somebody removed materials from the facades to hide electrical conduits and plumbing from ancient times, and they tried to hide it. But Paul Cook's on top of it, and he's looking. Look at these, man. Look at these seams. Look how perfect all this is. Look at this right here. This would have been plumbing. This would have been electrical. Look how they tried to hide it under all. Paul Cook is on it, guys. He's on it. So, I might have him back on the channel to show us whatever else he's doing. But yeah, the terracotta, the tubes are they're all over the world. Oh, what's this? Son of Overbrook, Lacram Island also has those terracotta. Yeah, that's cool. Somebody said Paul Cook is now in Egypt. That's pretty cool, man. But I do have, if my moderators can find it, would you please post the last video that Paul Cook and I did together right here on Archaix, because it was fascinating. It was a fascinating video. The things he was showing was really blowing my mind. I thought I knew about the antiquities of Malta because I've read about the excavations in 1901 and 1902 when they found hundreds of long-skulled human bodies crushed into the hypogeum. And I learned in David Hatcher Childress's books and some other sources that a tsunami wiped Malta almost off the map, and all the gigantic cyclopean blocks were all blown in one direction, and scuba divers can even see them off the coast. So this tsunami must have been super high, and it was coming at great velocity to take 20-ton rocks and just cast them like they were nothing. And it's crazy. And I know the exact time it happened. It was 2239 BC, and it's when the Mediterranean was flooded out. 200 stone cities have already been isolated and located beneath the Mediterranean. And it's because the Mediterranean wasn't even there. It was a series of beautiful timbered valleys and freshwater lakes until the Pillars of Hercules broke. You familiar with that? Yeah, 2239 BC. Mediterranean was created in a day. So this is when the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx took all its water damage from the Mediterranean. This is why North Africa, covered in sand, covered in the desert sand, it was all underwater for a period of time, 340 years, called Lake Triton. And it's mentioned in ancient historical records. So I think that pretty much sums up this video. And it's 207 minutes, which is a Phoenix number. It's half of 414. There you go. 414 is 138 times 3. Total coincidence. But this is Grendel Dark. He lives 3 hours from me, and he said, if you guys like this format of video where we just freestyle all the unique things we find in the Archaix library, we can do this once a month, maybe twice a month, whatever. He's willing to make the drive to come over here and do this. So if you like this style of video, let me know in the description box, and we'll start putting it on the menu every month. We'll just do these freestyles showing all these OOPArts, strange history, all this weird stuff, because we could literally do 100 videos like this just from pulling 4 and 5 books off the shelf in here, one at a time. And I just think it's really interesting. It opens people's eyes up to just how mysterious our world it is. And also, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm so busy doing all my chronological studies. I'm so busy in life doing this. You may not see all these amazing things that are in all these books unless we start doing videos like this, right?
Right.
It's going to take that. It's going to take that. So, you got any final words, man?
Come to the Houston meetup.
Yeah, come to
May
Houston
24th.
meetup. Hell yeah, I got to plug that. Houston meetup, guys. Come on, and we're gonna have a blast. We're all gonna hang out the whole night before, though, in a restaurant. And then in Houston, 9 hours today in Houston. Maybe that night too. I don't know. It depends on how we feel, man. But the invitation is out there. You want to come to the Houston meetup and meet people from all over mostly North America. We do have those 2 or 3 guys that always come from Europe. So yeah, man, whatever y'all want to do, man. And this is Grendel Dark. He's the one that wrote that song where you hear on my channel. I hate UFOs. I hate UFOs.
Most of them are fake.
Most of them are fake. Oh, yeah, it's great. Richard C. Hoagland. All right, guys. We'll holler at y'all later. I'm getting kind of hungry. We can turn the AC unit back on. Like I'm now getting hot. And yeah, we've had a blast. We've had a blast. And for those of you butthurt about the analysis on the Satan's Little Theory, like I said, man, listen, it's time for you guys to all come together and put your best effort together. I mean, you guys really want to get to the bottom of it, unless you just know it's a psyop, unless you're just promoting some bullshit. If you really genuinely believe this theory, it's time for you guys to network together, get together and put together the best presentation refuting my video. And I will post it on my channel for everybody to see before I give an answer. That is the best thing I can do for you guys. That's it. Anyway, until later, man. I love you guys. We'll find this badass outro, and we're going to sign out because it's time for Grendel Dark and I to go get something to eat.